Hello, my friend. You are asking for the rank 5 persona recommendations from the compendium, and here I am. I've been fusing these guys away and kind of customizing what I do. This is really the first level block, if you want to call it that, that I actually start tweaking a little bit more because these will last me, up until the 60 and some I'll carry into that, level 6 range. And it's where I really want to kind of specialize a little bit more, not to say that you have to. And so not only today am I going to cover the couple of personas that I think are, particularly good in this range, but I'm going to show you specifically what I did to mine to make them kind of more my own. And this is part of the fun of the persona system because you can make these decisions and you might find some strategies that you like better than what I'm doing. So as we dive in, as always, a like and a sub would be tremendous. I'd very much appreciate that. So let's get right into the details here. We'll switch to 5. So as we dive in here, there's really not a ton in this range that I think are, ones that you absolutely must build or anything like that. Like the last set, there's some that you're going to want to build when you have a certain elemental affinity that you want to trigger, and you need that kind of DPS to do so. So for example, I'm not going to cover every one of these, but you've got something, like power over here. So if you were looking for a single target bless dealer, this is one that you could build, but you wouldn't really get much out of them from a general gameplay perspective. So if I'm not directly covering somebody, know that I more look at them from the specialized elemental damage for specific stages, and I do occasionally build things like that just to get into a stage. So, maybe it's for, I don't know, the Velvet Trials or an SOS stage or Guild Boss. There are times when I do, kind of quickly level up the, unit that kind of best matches. So like I don't have a good Psi, dealer, so I might look for somebody that's Psi, or, I don't have a good Wind dealer right now, so I might look over here for somebody with Wind. And so you will kind of do some things like that from time to time, and you're going to find some decent ones within these. And what I would recommend is that if you find yourself in a situation where you really need to amp up your damage for a specific element and you need Wonder to do it, look for somebody that has either the single target or the AoE version, depending on if you're going on a single target boss or an AoE boss. For example, Scathach is an AoE unit. So, this is somebody that you could build for AoE. They do winded, damage from a Garudine, whatever. And, you get some increased damage and such when you have Windswept. So these ones that are more specific to damage, I tend to not cover as much. So let's talk about, a couple of these other units. So here we have a couple that are kind of in this tanking role. So we have Hekatonch. We have the dude with all the arms. Y'all can make fun of me in the comments and teach me how to say their names. So up here, when party's HP is below 50%, decrease damage taken by 19%, and they have the party-wide defense buff as their kind of innate, piece right here. So if you're looking for something in this range that you want to level into that can give you some defense, you could do something like him. You can also look at our friend here, Gira Mekala. I feel like I said that one right. You tell me. And a lot of strengths here on your physical, which I tend to like because you get a lot of physical damage throughout the game. Demonic Eyes, increase ailment resistance, decrease party's damage taken from foes with debuffs by 16%. And again, you've got a very good defensive skill in that this decreases all foes attack by 16.3%. You can tell I have not built them because I don't have any levels on them. But if I really needed something defensive and say my soy or my healers, my sustainers weren't doing the job, this is maybe where I would consider something like this. You can also look at running some content where you intentionally don't bring sustain, and as a result, you might do something more of that kind with Wonder. And that's really what you want to think about these kinds of personas for, is replacing a different role for somebody else. Again, maybe for a score challenge or maybe a boss that you just want to rush down and you have to survive for like a couple rounds and then you DPS and your buffers can do what they're doing. So they would be good from that perspective, but again, I'm not necessarily building them. And then over here, Rangda, an interesting persona, but one I don't necessarily know that I'll build. Again, good coverage on your physical ailments. They have a couple weaknesses. But then when dealing curse damage, decrease main target's attack by 16% for 2 turns, and they also have the decrease all foes attack by 16%. So another good one if you're running a curse team and you want to make it safer, maybe you're, again, struggling in some content, this is another way to do that by applying these debuffs. But generally, if I'm running Curse, I'm probably still going to be running White Rider anyways, and so I'm more concerned about him than I am necessarily Rangda. And then this bottom row, nothing really of note except for maybe Horus, because Horus does have an almighty attack. I don't think that they're necessarily someone you have to rush and build right now, but this is, a Bless / almighty unit. Not terrible if you need it. And that leaves us with 2 up here. So I guess I'll start, honestly, with Pazuzu. Pazuzu is a very niche case persona, but a good one in the niche that he fulfills. So what this is doing is basically playing into the curse mechanics. So if you're running like a curse DPS group, someone who's stacking a lot of curse debuffs, then this is a really good persona for you. Increase attack by a certain amount. When using a skill to attack a foe, 40% chance to inflict 1 curse on main target, immediately deal curse damage. And on their skills here, they also have the ability to inflict curse. So this is like your curse bomb, because this isn't consuming the curse. It's saying, hey, let's put curse on it, trigger the curse, and then keep going. So a fun one for those who want to do, again, that curse DOT damage. And then I'm going to come back to our friend the worm over here. On this page, the first notable one is really Ose, because Ose has taunt. And so you don't really see this much in the game at all, but taunt puts it in rage and they, try to hit your character. Now, typically I want Soy as my tank and not necessarily Wonder, but if you find a reason to make Wonder your tank, this is a good way to do it. And here, increase element accuracy, so you better chance of landing taunt. Increase damage to enraged foes by 44%. And you also have Madarakuja, which is a party-wide, boost to attack. And you've got HP boost, which is going to help you if you're being taunted. And you can counter. So an interesting persona. Again, it's probably very niche, very fringe case that you'd use it. But know that you do have one with taunt. Maybe you're running, a team with Leo, or like a closer, people that have less HP, that are a little bit more squishy. This could be a way to bring them and possibly taunt yourself and take some heat off of them. Again, I don't think I'm going to build them, but it is an interesting case. Then we have Kushinada. And what's interesting here, and again, this isn't necessarily what I'm building, but is under Beloved Princess, for every buff gained, increase party's attack 6.7%, 3 stacks, permanent. And they also have a buff right here for party attack. So if you're trying to buff stack, this is a way that you can kind of get a little bit of extra attack for it. Generally, I'm more concerned about rotating like crit type buff skills and possibly debuffs. And so I wouldn't really be sitting on this one long enough to make use of that in a typical battle. So while this is interesting, I think from a practicality standpoint, I don't know that I would use her that often. Unless maybe I'm in an ice team and then I could possibly see sliding her in as ice. But otherwise, I don't know that I would build this particular unit, but an interesting effect nonetheless. And then for some extra elemental coverage, you can look at Queen Mob. And what she has is a couple things. 1, another almighty skill. 2, she comes with a AoE fire and an AoE ice ability with fire boost and ice boost. So if you need to, say, go through a trial and you need both of these elements, or there's elements switching back and forth, this is a good way to use one persona to do double coverage. And as far as Sweet Dreams up here, you get an increase in attack. And then when you're using one of these skills and you're attacking burning or frozen foes, you get higher attack. And if they're burning and freezing, which, she can do down here, then it's going to increase that effect 100%. So an interesting one if you're trying to build an elemental team and you need some extra coverage, maybe you're not running on, or maybe you just want both of these in one unit. It's a cool way to get into that. I tend to if you haven't figured it out, I specialize my teams more. So for my personal playstyle, I don't necessarily use her, but I see where she could have good use cases. For these 3 up here, nothing really stands out to me. I don't know that I would build any of them. And that leaves us kind of with our bottom row here. You can see I've leveled 1, hint, hint. But let's get to him and our worm friend last. So let's cover these 3 down here. So Dakini is cool because she has Rebellion. So remember, we've been using Succubus for Rebellion basically this whole time if you've been, following along with what I do. She will also do Rebellion, but she's going to have a different top effect up here, which is the part that matters. So forget about the attack. Is after inflicting spiritual ailment, permanently increase target's physical damage taken by 5.7%. So this could be, something where you use like a Ryuji or another physical character to take advantage of this here. But overall, I think I actually like Succubus's piece up here more than I like Dakini's. But I'm going to tell you why Dakini is important in just a moment. So let's back out of her. I'm going to skip over. We're going to talk about Sarasvati. And for Sarasvati, good heals. So again, Winder's not the best healer, but if you need him to heal in a pinch, this is a good way to do it. So Mother Goddess Chant, restore party's HP equal to 17.3% of attack, plus 336. Decrease party's damage taken by 7.7. So you're getting a heal and making it so that you take less damage for a couple of turns. You do get your traditional Persona single target and multi-target heals, but for multi-target, you're probably going to be using Mother's Goddess Chant. It's more that you could inherit this into another Persona if you wanted to, that this is kind of cool that it's sitting there. And then for top line, increase healing by 15%. After healing, heal ally with the lowest HP 24% of user's attack. So if you need a healer, particularly an AoE healer, she's a good one to bring in. And then Narcissist, I can't open yet, so I can't remember if this is from Rope or something else. But Narcissist is actually a really good Persona. And so up here, Bewildering Fragrance, increase ailment accuracy by a certain amount. So, help you do stuff like land, Windeds or whatever, or Dazzler. After inflicting Windswept, increase main target's damage taken 17.6% and increases own ailment accuracy by 14% for 2 turns. And then you can get in here and do, single target damage to the unit with good chances to do Windswept, and you have the Windswept accuracy boost. So this unit is just great at applying Windswept, would go good with, say, a team with Fleuret, other wind damage and things of that nature. So a good one to look out for once they actually open up. But for now, like I said, I can't build them. So this is going to leave me with my 2 favorite from this range. So the first one I'm going to cover is Yerlinger, which is this worm here. Now this one is specific for you Yui users. So if you pulled her, this is the one you want to build when you get to this range. And here's the thing. This is not how their kit looks. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So why is this one important? Increase crit damage by 17.4%. Okay, that's on Wonder. I'm less concerned there. Increase foes crit damage taken 18%. If foe is shocked, increase 11% more. So when you're running your Yui team, or if you're doing other electric damage, this could go well as well. You want her critting, like most DPS, and this is something that will help boost that crit damage. She also wants the enemies shocked, and so this is playing into that quite heavily. There's electric break in case you need it. And then if you look at your main skills here, Zyodine, deal electric damage, whatever, chance to inflict shock for 2 turns, and it's sitting at a 60% chance. So that's a pretty decent one there. You've got other kind of passives here. Shock boost is definitely helpful because it's going to boost your chance to get shock. Electric, if you're throwing this, is good. And here's what I've added. I've added Racunda. This is, like I said, this is where I like to start inheriting skills and specializing into, I guess you could say, units I'm sitting on. I like to use another unit to buff, which I'm about to cover, then switch into Yerlinger. While I'm on Yerlinger, I'm making sure that shock is staying on the unit. And when I'm not needing to do that, I can drop Racunda down without having to switch out of the unit that is buffing DPS for Yui. So now is the time you want to start thinking about these things. How do I keep my most effective DPS, persona as my active persona while doing things that make the fight better? Whatever that might be for you, survivability, damage increase, pick your poison. For me, I love dropping Racunda down. And so this is a great one to kind of throw that skill on when you're in this range. You could also throw like a Tarakaja on here. Think about things that's going to be used while you're sitting here to boost your DPS in one fashion or another, or again, survivability if that's your cup of tea. So that's the one I built for Yui. And you can see I fully maxed it out. So I got it all the way up to level 70. And then the other one, this is now when I replace Succubus. So I go into Kumo Kuten. I love it because in the comments, I know it and I love that it happens. People are going to tell me how to sound it out and I'm still going to screw it up. So if we look at Heavenly King's Eye 2, increase ailment accuracy. I'm less concerned about that. At the start of battle, so this is my lead persona, increase attack of ally with highest attack by 14% and crit rate by 6%. So if your main DPS, if you get them with the highest attack stat, you're giving them these extra boosts for the first 3 turns. Great way to start. Also, Automataru. At the start of battle, increase party's attack by this amount for 2 turns or until you change your personas. Another great one. Again, the rest of these are not necessarily standard on this one. Why do I like this guy? Revolution. This persona comes standard with Revolution, which is a party-wide crit increase. This stacks with your other crit sources such as Rebellion. He does not come with Rebellion. This Rebellion I inherited off of Dakini. So this one here, and this is why I like this unit. It's the first time you can inherit Rebellion. Now you are going to spend coins. It took me quite a few to luck into inheriting that skill because it says, you know, here's the skills you can inherit and it's a random chance. So if you're doing this, and you don't have to do this now, this is something I like to do. If you do this now, just know that you may burn, you know, some persona fusions or coins to get this to happen. Here's the other problem. We talk about speed. So if I look at my teams, when I first equipped him in here, Joker was faster than my Wonder. And so all this buffing would be going late. And you can see even still Leo is slow as hell. I got to get some good cards on him. But what I had to do to overcome this, and you just have to look at your speed. It's a speed game. Oh, and you know, I'm going to show it to you. Let me show you, we look at your speed stat. So if you go into your character, just click these little magnifying glasses, speed 106. If I look at Joker, you know, speed 104. So I need to be faster than 104. And what I did to do that, if I go back to the Velvet Room here, if I jump on him, let's find him really quickly here. So I had to change his skills. I inherited Agility Master 1. So this came from a very low level persona. I needed a couple more points of safety. That gives me speed +6. A skill that he comes pre-equipped with is going to be Ironclad Resolve. Now what's interesting here, if it actually lets me click it, this decreases your speed by 12, but increases your HP. I could technically, I think, take Agility Master off and put this on now that I've kind of changed some cards around. And I may do that just to get something else in here, like physical reduction. But this is what you do when we talk about speed tuning, is it's changing your passives around so that your Wonder goes first or second or third or fourth, wherever in the rotation you want him to land. And so that's what I had to do. So the standard version of Komokuten did not have agility or rebellion. I've added those to that persona. But now I've got a great replacement to Succubus that can lead me off, giving me attack and crit rate bonuses to my highest attacking ally, who can then buff me twice with crit. These will stack. And then in the case of, say, a Yui, which is, you know, a great example here, then I switch over to Yerlinger. And, you know, I go in and I toss in, you know, if I need to shock as Iodine, and if I don't, then I can toss in a Raccoonda, get their defense going down, sit there for a turn, and then repeat into the Rebellion Revolution cycle. So, you know, that's a very niche case. I get that. But even still, he is going to be very useful on a lot of teams until you get up to like the Dionysus range, where Dionysus will basically replace him. But Dionysus, I believe, is a rank 7 persona off the top of my head. So you're gonna be waiting a while before you get there. But that's it. That is my rank 5 personas that I like, and also the way that I build them for those two specifically. So don't be afraid to go outside the box and inherit skills. Just know that it is a bit random. You're going to use the coin. It's going to say, here's what you could inherit, and it's going to pick one of those. And if you get it, you can get it 7 times in a row. Like, there's nothing that says I got it once and now it won't happen again. So just do keep that in mind with your limited resources. But these are teams that I like to use, or personas I like to use for my teams. Let me know in the comments if, you know, there's other personas you think I missed or overlooked that are particularly helpful in your cases. And if you've been customizing into some really cool persona options. You know, I'm not the only one who's inheriting skills. I know that for a fact. And on your way out, a like and a subscribe would be super helpful for the channel and getting this out to other people. And as always, my friends, until our next video or live stream, take care of yourselves.